What drives a man to commit such horrific acts, to treat human life with such disregard? This question takes us back to the early years of Jeffrey Dahmer, a name that sends chills down the spine of many. As a child, Jeffrey was often described as shy and introverted, but beneath this quiet exterior, a storm was brewing. Struggles marked his early life, shaping the man he would become. He grappled with feelings of powerlessness, a sense of isolation that intensified as he grew older. This, along with a growing fascination with violence, formed a dangerous cocktail. In his teenage years, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. Violent fantasies became intertwined with his budding sexuality, creating a horrifying fusion that would dictate his future actions. This wasn't a fleeting fascination, but an obsession, growing stronger and more alarming with each passing day. As Dahmer grew, so did his dark desires, evolving into an obsession that would soon consume him. The line between fantasy and reality blurred for Dahmer as he committed his first murder. A teenage boy at the time, Dahmer found himself caught in a whirlwind of violent desires and a growing need to exert control. His first murder was not a premeditated act of evil, but rather a compulsion that seemed to seize him with an irresistible force. This compulsion, however, did not fade away. Instead, it grew stronger, pushing him to kill again. He didn't even attempt to resist it after the second time. His violent actions were not just about taking lives, they were about gaining control, creating a world where Jeffrey Dahmer was the one who decided the rules. In this world, he felt powerful, not like the powerless child he once was. It was his refuge, his sanctuary. But this world was one of horror, detached from reality, where Dahmer's darkest fantasies became his actions. For Dahmer, his violent actions were not just about control, but about a twisted form of intimacy. This grotesque intimacy was a byproduct of Dahmer's darkest fantasies, a perverse satisfaction that he derived from his horrifying acts. His victims were more than just objects of his control, they were extensions of his own self, a permanent part of him. The act of cannibalization, as gruesome as it may sound, was his twisted attempt at creating an unbreakable bond, a connection that could not be severed by death itself. Dahmer's actions were driven by an obsession that began in his teenage years, an obsession that grew stronger and more disturbing with time. His violent fantasies intertwined with his sexuality, culminating in a compulsion to kill that he couldn't, or perhaps didn't, want to control. In the end, Jeffrey Dahmer's life is a chilling example of how a person's struggles and inner conflicts can lead to horrific consequences.